The restaurant my Aunt Patricia chose was the kind of place where servers wear white gloves and the wine list has its own sommelier. She texted the entire family that morning, "Big announcement tonight. My treat, dress nice." I sat between my younger brother Miguel and our cousin Teresa, watching Aunt Patricia hold court at the head of the table. She wore a new dress, royal blue silk, that probably cost more than my monthly student loan payment, and kept checking her phone with barely suppressed excitement. "I have incredible news," she announced, tapping her wine glass with a knife. "Today, after months of careful planning, I finalized the sale of the rental properties, all 12 units. $3 million. The table erupted in gasps and congratulations. My mother grabbed Patricia's hand. "Oh my God, Patty. That's amazing, you did it." "I did." Patricia's smile was triumphant. "The escrow closed this afternoon. The money's sitting in the account right now. And in 2 weeks I'll be on a Mediterranean cruise, first class, balcony suite, 35 days. Venice, Greece, the Croatian coast." She pulled out a glossy brochure. "I'm finally retiring in style." My Uncle Carlos raised his glass. "To Patricia, you worked hard managing those properties all these years. You deserve this." Everyone drank. I didn't touch my glass. "Isabella, you're quiet," Patricia said, her eyes finding me across the table. "Aren't you happy for me?" "Those properties," I said carefully. "The 12 units you sold, where are they located?" "You know where they are. The apartments on Riverside Drive, the duplex on Cherry Street, the 4 units on Oakmont Avenue." She waved her hand. "The whole portfolio your grandmother built up over 30 years. The portfolio Grandma Rosa left to me." The celebratory noise died. Everyone turned to look at me. Patricia's smile didn't waver. "Grandma left those properties to the family. I've been managing them since she passed. It's only right that I benefit from all that work. Grandma left them specifically to me. In a trust. I have the documents." "You were 19 when she died, Isabella. A teenager. Those properties needed proper management, which I provided. I've spent 5 years collecting rents, dealing with repairs, handling tenant complaints. Do you know how many 3 a.m. phone calls I've taken about burst pipes? How many times I've had to evict people? I appreciate everything you did to help manage them," I said, keeping my voice level. "But you didn't own them. You couldn't sell them." My mother leaned forward. "Bella, honey, Patricia has been taking care of those properties since Grandma died. She's earned management fees, which the LLC paid her. $2,000 a month for 5 years. That's $120,000. Mom, but she didn't earn ownership." Patricia set down her wine glass. "I have all the paperwork. The sales went through. It's done." "What paperwork? Did you forge transfer documents? Power of attorney?" "Because I never signed anything giving you authority to sell those properties." The table had gone completely silent. Miguel was staring at his plate. Teresa looked between Patricia and me like she was watching a tennis match. "Your grandmother wanted the family to benefit from her investments," Patricia said, her voice developing an edge. "Not just one person. She told me that herself before she died." "Then why did she put everything in an irrevocable trust with me as the sole beneficiary? Why did she have her attorney, Mr. Huang, set up the Rosa Martinez Family Properties LLC with me as the only member?" I pulled out my phone. "I have the trust documents right here. Want me to forward them to everyone?" Patricia's face had gone pale beneath her makeup. "You don't understand business, Isabella. You're 24 years old, still in graduate school. I made executive decisions to maximize the portfolio's value. Those buildings were aging, needed major repairs. Selling now at peak market value was the smart move. For your retirement, not for the actual owner. I put in 5 years of work, and you were paid for that work. Management fees, remember. Plus you took a percentage of rent increases, which we agreed to in writing." I looked around the table. "Did she tell any of you she was selling properties she didn't own?" No one spoke. Patricia stood abruptly. "This is ridiculous. The escrow is closed. The money is in the account. The buyers have already taken possession."
You can't undo a completed real estate transaction.
"Because you're having some kind of delayed reaction. Actually," I said quietly, Escrow isn't fully closed until the title company verifies ownership and releases the funds. They're holding $3 million right now, but they haven't transferred it to you yet. They can't, because you're not the registered owner of Rosa Martinez Family Properties LLC. Patricia's phone rang. She looked at the screen, and I watched the color drain from her face completely. The caller ID must have shown something she wasn't expecting. "Aren't you going to answer that?" I asked. "It might be important." She stepped away from the table, phone pressed to her ear.
Solution.
We couldn't hear her words, but we could see her body language. The stiffening spine, the hand gestures getting more agitated. The way she kept glancing back at me with something like panic. My mother leaned over. "Isabella, what's going on?" "Grandma Rosa died 5 years ago and left me her entire property portfolio. She'd spent 30 years building it up. Started with one duplex, gradually acquired more units in good neighborhoods. By the time she died, she owned 12 rental units across the city. All paid off, all generating steady income. I thought Patricia owned those." Carlos said. "That's what Patricia wanted everyone to think. But Grandma set up a trust specifically to protect the properties. She made me the beneficiary, because she knew I'd want to keep them, build on her legacy. She'd talked to me about it for years. How to manage tenants, maintain properties, build generational wealth." I took a breath. Patricia offered to help manage them after Grandma died. I was in college, didn't have time for the day-to-day operations. We signed a management agreement. She collected rents, coordinated repairs, handled tenant issues. The LLC paid her well for that work. "So what happened?" Teresa asked. "She started telling people the properties were hers, changed the return address on tenant correspondence to her house, stopped copying me on financial reports. When I asked questions, she'd say things like 'don't worry about it,' or 'I'm handling everything.' 6 months ago, tenants started contacting me directly, because Patricia was telling them the properties had new ownership and they needed to sign new leases. Leases that listed her as the landlord." Miguel frowned. "Why didn't you say something sooner?" "I wanted proof."
It's of.
"Why didn't you say something sooner?" "I wanted proof. So I hired a property attorney to review everything. He found that Patricia had been showing fake documents to potential buyers, claiming she owned the LLC. She'd created an entirely false paper trail. The attorney advised me to let her proceed far enough to show intent, that this wasn't a misunderstanding, but deliberate fraud." Patricia returned to the table. Her face was rigid, the phone clutched in her hand. "That was the title company," she said, her voice tight. "They have some questions about the LLC ownership documents." "I imagine they do," I said. "Since the state business registry shows I'm the registered agent and sole member of Rosa Martinez Family Properties LLC, and the property tax records show I've been paying the taxes directly from my account for the past 5 years, and the business bank account is in my name, not yours." "You sneaky little." Patricia caught herself, looking around at our family's shocked faces. "I raised you. After your grandmother died, who helped your mother? Who was there for this family?" "You were there," I agreed. "And we appreciated it. But being helpful doesn't give you the right to steal $3 million in assets." "I didn't steal anything. I managed those properties for 5 years. Do you know how much work that was? How many sacrifices I made? You were paid $2,000 a month, plus percentage fees. That's $140,000 total over 5 years. Most property managers would be thrilled with that compensation." I pulled out a folder from my bag. I'd brought it knowing this conversation might happen. "These are the actual financial records. The LLC's tax returns, showing me as the owner. The management agreement we both signed, specifying your fees and duties. And the cease and desist letter my attorney sent to the buyers yesterday, informing them the properties were sold without proper authorization." Patricia grabbed the edge of the table. "You contacted the buyers?" "My attorney did, along with the title company, the escrow company, and the county recorder's office. The sales contracts are void. The buyers are furious, as you can imagine. They're threatening to sue you for fraud, wasting their time, and forcing them to restart their property search. But the money is frozen in escrow, and will be returned to the buyers. You won't see a penny of it." I looked at her steadily. "You can't sell property you don't own. Aunt Patricia, That's not a business decision. That's theft. My mother's voice was small. Patricia, tell me, you didn't know the properties weren't yours. Patricia didn't answer. She knew, I said. She has copies of the trust documents. She signed the management agreement, acknowledging my ownership. She received monthly statements, showing the LLC in my name. She knew exactly what she was doing. Carlos stood up. I think we should go. The dinner dissolved into chaos. Patricia was on her phone again, presumably with her attorney. My mother was crying, apologizing to me. Miguel kept asking questions I didn't have time to answer. Teresa hugged me and whispered. I always thought something was weird about her suddenly having all that money to spend. I paid our part of the bill. Patricia's treat had evaporated with the rest of her plans, and drove home with Miguel. Are you going to press charges? He asked. I don't know yet. The buyers might. The title company definitely will. They have protocols for attempted fraud. The district attorney might get involved if the buyers push hard enough. I pulled into my apartment parking lot. Right now, I just want to secure the properties and make sure the tenants aren't affected by all this chaos. My phone rang. Mr. Huang, my grandmother's attorney and now mine. Isabella, the title company just sent over their report. Your aunt forged quite a few documents. Property transfer deeds, LLC amendments, even a fake death certificate claiming you died, and she'd inherited as next of kin. I closed my eyes. She told people I was dead. To some of the buyers. Yes. To others she claimed you'd signed everything over to her, but the paperwork was in process. She created an entire false narrative. He paused. This is serious, Isabella. We're talking about multiple counts of fraud, forgery, potentially even identity theft. The DA's office will almost certainly want to prosecute. What about the properties? Are they secure? Completely. You're the registered owner, you've been paying the taxes, and you have a clear chain of title going back to your grandmother. The buyers have been notified. The sales were unauthorized. They're not happy, but they understand you're the victim here, not the perpetrator. 2 of them have actually expressed interest in legitimate purchases if you ever decide to sell. I won't. These properties are my inheritance from Grandma Rosa. She spent her whole life building this portfolio. She'd be proud of how you protected it. Most 24-year-olds wouldn't have had the foresight to maintain documentation and monitor things the way you did. After we hung up, I sat in my car for a long moment. Miguel had gone inside, but I needed a minute to process everything. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. I'm so sorry, Misha. I had no idea Patricia was doing this. Your grandmother trusted you with her legacy for a reason. I should have questioned things sooner. Then one from Patricia. You've ruined my life. I hope you're happy. I didn't respond to either message. The next morning, I met with Mr. Huang and a representative from the title company. They walked me through everything Patricia had done. Forged documents, false claims to buyers, the fake death certificate, even fraudulent lease agreements. She'd shown to banks while trying to secure loans against properties she didn't own. She's facing serious criminal charges, the title company representative said. Our legal team is pressing for prosecution. We have a zero-tolerance policy for fraud. It undermines the entire real estate industry. What happens to her cruise? I asked, then felt silly for asking. Already cancelled. The cruise line was very understanding when we explained the situation. They refunded her deposit fully, once we showed them documentation of the fraud investigation. Mr. Huang pulled out more papers. We need to discuss the properties themselves. Several tenants have been concerned about the ownership confusion. I recommend you visit each property, introduce yourself officially as the owner, and reassure them their leases are secure. Over the next week, I did exactly that. I visited all 12 units, met every tenant, explained that there had been a management change, but their leases remained valid. Most were relieved. A few mentioned that Patricia had been difficult to work with, slow to make repairs, dismissive of concerns. She acted like we should be grateful to have a place to live. One tenant told me, "Your grandmother was never like that. Rosa treated us like human beings." I hired a new property management company, with excellent reviews and transparent accounting. They were thrilled to take on a portfolio of 12 well-maintained units in good neighborhoods. My first meeting with them lasted 3 hours, as we reviewed every property, every lease, every maintenance issue. These are quality buildings, the manager, Mrs. Patel, said. Your grandmother knew what she was doing. Good bones, solid locations, reasonable rents. You've got a strong foundation here. I want to build on it. Eventually, the way Grandma did, acquire more properties over time, carefully, in neighborhoods with good schools and low crime. Build something that lasts generations. With proper management, you absolutely can do that. 3 weeks after the disastrous dinner, I received a call from the district attorney's office. Patricia was being charged with multiple counts of fraud, forgery, and attempted grand theft. The buyers had filed a civil suit as well, seeking damages for their wasted time and money. We'd like you to provide a victim impact statement, the prosecutor said. This case is straightforward from a legal standpoint. The evidence is overwhelming, but the judge will want to understand the personal impact of her actions. I thought about it for a long time before writing the statement. In the end, I kept it simple. My grandmother, Rosa Martinez, spent 30 years building a real estate portfolio that generated income and stability for her family. She taught me that property ownership isn't just about money, it's about legacy, responsibility, and providing safe homes for people. When she died, she entrusted that portfolio to me, knowing I shared her values. My aunt's attempt to sell these properties wasn't just theft of assets worth $3 million. It was an attempt to erase my grandmother's life's work and betray the trust placed in me. The properties are secure now, and the tenants are protected, but the betrayal of family trust can't be undone. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks out. Mr. Huang advised me to prepare for a long process. Criminal cases moved slowly, and Patricia's attorney was already pushing for plea negotiations. She's going to claim she believed she had a right to the properties, he said. That it was a family misunderstanding, not intentional fraud, but she forged documents. She told buyers I was dead. I know. The evidence is overwhelmingly against her, but her attorney will try anything to reduce the charges. He looked at me seriously. Are you prepared for what this will do to your family relationships? I thought about my grandmother, about the hours she'd spent teaching me about property management, about her insistence that I needed to be financially independent. Grandma Rosa left me these properties for a reason. I'm not letting anyone take that away, family or not. My phone buzzed. Mrs. Patel, the new property manager. Good news. The vacancy on Cherry Street has 3 qualified applicants. Also, the Oakmont units just appraised higher than expected. Your portfolio is worth closer to $3.5 million, not 3. Your aunt undervalued everything to make a quick sale. I smiled. Of course, Grandma's properties were worth more than Patricia had claimed. She'd always bought in neighborhoods poised for growth, always maintained everything meticulously, always charged fair rents that kept good tenants long term. Another text came through, this one from Teresa. Family dinner at Mom's this Sunday. Patricia won't be there. Everyone wants to apologize to you. Please come. I thought about it, then replied, I'll be there. The properties were secure. The tenants were protected. My grandmother's legacy was intact. Patricia would face consequences for her actions, legal, financial, and social. But family, however complicated, was still family. I pulled up the spreadsheet Mrs. Patel had sent, detailed reports on all 12 properties, maintenance schedules, tenant payment histories, projected expenses. This was my inheritance, my responsibility, my future. Somewhere I hoped Grandma Rosa was proud. The portfolio she'd built wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. And unlike Aunt Patricia's Mediterranean cruise, this legacy would last for generations.